Thank you very much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and today we are going to do a full Anthurium collection. I'm so excited about this video because it is probably going to be the biggest transformation I've ever had from one collection video to the next. I think the last time I did an Anthurium collection, if I even ever did, I think I maybe did, and it was kind of embarrassing because all of my Anthurium looked really bad. But now I'm super happy to be showing such a huge improvement for my plants. They are looking so happy, so healthy, and it is through some changes that I've recently made that they have become so beautiful, and I felt confident to add more to my collection. So I do have, I think, 13 plants to show today. So we are going to get right into it. First Anthurium I ever got was my Anthurium veitchii, which as you can see is very, very big. I will have footage from the first Anthurium collection that I did on the screen so that you can sort of see the transformation here. This is the veitchii, so the king Anthurium. And it is one that is honestly so easy to take care of. It's one of my favorites. As you can see, it has really striking foliage. It has nice ripples on it, kind of like abs, but it has quite a few leaves. So we've got this one, which was the most recent. Then we've got this one here, and then this one here, and then a couple ones down here, which are slowly starting to make their exit. They've got some browning on the edges and they just look a little worse for wear in general. But those are the last two leaves that were kind of on the smaller side that are left on the plant. And we have had 2 blooms on this one so far. So we've got an active bloom right now, and it actually has pollen on it. So I could possibly collect that pollen. I've been thinking about it. I need to look on, I found somebody sent me a resource online talking about which Anthurium can pollinate each other. So I need to look on that and see if I have any of the ones that the veitchii can pollinate, because that would be really cool to cross-pollinate with it if one of the flowers from the other plant came up within a certain amount of time. I have done a video showing pollinating and harvesting berries from Anthurium from my experience doing it. So if you want to watch that video, I'll have that linked in the cards and in the description box. But yeah, so I bought this one, I think it was around $180. I bought it from a local friend in Tucson, and it's done really well. Like, it's one that I literally do not worry about whatsoever. I've always told people that if you're gonna get an Anthurium to start with, it should be this one because they're just so easy. It really is like a Monstera deliciosa, if anything, if I could compare it to another plant care-wise. It has done really great in ambient humidity. I've never had it in any sort of like cabinet or enclosed space, and it has put out leaves pretty consistently for me. So it's just really beautiful and striking, and I absolutely love it. Okay, my next Anthurium is the Anthurium balaoanum, and this one for a very long time was probably my favorite plant in my collection because the leaves were just getting so big and it was just really happy. Unfortunately, one of the times it was trying to put out a new leaf for the most recent time, the new leaf sort of just dried off, and I think it was just because it was a little dry in my plant room when it was coming out, and it just wasn't loving it, which I was really surprised that happened because this plant is generally really fine with ambient humidity. But ever since then, it tried to put out a flower, which was fun, but it didn't actually ever come out. And then now it seems to be just stalled in its growth. We do have what looks like a new growth point coming in, but you can see that where the leaf was going to come out and it just died off. So we've had a lot of history together. You can see that there's a pretty long stem here. I got this plant actually in a giveaway. It's the only giveaway I've ever won. And it was really awesome. I was super excited. As you can see, it has just put out some really awesome leaves. It does get a little ripped if the conditions are particularly dry when the leaf comes out. And it has also had spider mites once before, so we lost some foliage from that. But generally, it's been a very easy plant to take care of. I would say the Anthurium that are a little bit more on the rubbery, glossy side are much easier to take care of than like the velvety Anthurium like these. I didn't get a lot of velvet Anthurium until later on in my collecting for that reason. They are just a lot harder to take care of. Next up, I have my crystallinum, and I actually got this as a free gift as a part of a different order that I made for the one I'm gonna show you next. But this one is so, so pretty. It has this new leaf right here, which has come in a really beautiful copper color. And depending on the plant, they are going to come in a nice coppery color like this, or like a deep burgundy, like dark red color. And it's just really cool to see them because they come in and they start off like probably like this big or smaller, and they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's like wild to me that it grows like that. Like, I don't know, it's just so crazy to me that the leaf will come out and then it'll get to the size that it's going to be. You know what I mean? I feel like all plants do that to a certain degree, but it's like especially prominent with Anthurium. And you can see with this one that I have it potted in a ceramic pot. So one of the big changes that I made for Anthurium care that really made a difference was I potted them all in ceramic or plastic. I had most of my collection in terracotta prior to that decision, and I am slowly working on moving certain plants in my collection out of terracotta. I feel more confident in my watering and like my care that I don't feel like I need to have all of my plants in terracotta anymore. So anyway, I also put a little layer of moss, this is sphagnum moss, around the base of the plant. And anytime I water it, I'll just water down that moss as well. And it just keeps the area around the base of the plant moist for a little bit longer. And I just found that that really helped the leaves come out bigger and stronger. So this plant was putting out pretty small leaves for pretty much the entire time I had it until I made those changes. And I don't know, I'm really proud of myself for figuring that out. And also there was a lot of help from you guys in the comments, like coaching me honestly on how to take care of Anthurium, because I am a bit stubborn and it took me a long time to fully take the advice you guys were giving. But once I did, so much changed for me. So thank you very much for consistently commenting your advice and just being really awesome plant friends in that way. I have my just workhorse of an Anthurium clarinervium here. She is near constantly either blooming or putting out a new leaf. As you can see, she just finished putting this leaf out. It's like kind of still hardening off a little bit as well. So it's been very consistent in flower, leaf, flower, leaf, flower, leaf, like very, very predictable behavior. And I oftentimes just cut off the flowers because I want to get more leaves on the plant. But as you can see, like we've got a lot of leaves. Like there's quite a few. It's actually kind of impressive when I think about it. And she holds on to them very well. I've really hardly ever cut leaves off. And I really attribute a lot of that to, probably all of it, to my IKEA greenhouse cabinet. So I've done lots of content on my IKEA greenhouse cabinet regarding especially my Anthurium. This one, even more so than any of the other ones, because it was the first Anthurium that I put in there to just like help it along because it just was not doing very well. I have used this plant to harvest berries, and I actually have like 15 to 20 seedlings growing up actually right now. So I'm super excited to share that with you guys as they continue growing along. That's the video that I mentioned earlier when I fertilized and not fertilized. What is it? Pollinated and then harvested berries off of it. So it was this plant right here. And I think that I'm actually going to use this pollen off of this flower here to pollinate a different plant, this one right here, just to see what I get. Thank you very much to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to building your brand and your business online. I personally use Squarespace for my podcast website and my personal website. I'm still building it on my personal website, hoping to have that done soon. But anyway, for the podcast, we've used it for show notes, we've used it for selling merch, and for me, on my side of things with my personal website, I'm planning on using it for blogging, and I'd love to use it to sell merch, collecting video requests, and all those types of things. There's so many different functions of Squarespace. I'm not a web designer by any means, but I do think that I have created some pretty beautiful websites. Squarespace has drag and drop templates where you can edit them. You can actually like just start off with a template that's pre-made and add in all of your stuff. But it is really easy to edit the website and make changes to, I don't know, the colors, fonts, and just general design that fits your vibe. You can use it to keep in contact with your audience through mailing lists. So if you have like, I don't know, special offers and deals that you want to tell people about, that's a really great way to do it. If you have a newsletter, you can definitely use Squarespace to do that. So if you're interested in building an online presence and sharing about your products or your services, or just if you have something to share and you want to start a blog or anything like that, I would highly suggest checking out Squarespace. You can head to squarespace.com/BeccaDeLaPlants to start your free trial. And then whenever you're ready to get started, you can use the code BeccaDeLaPlants to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. This is possibly the most exciting update of this entire video. This is my Anthurium regale, and this plant has been honestly one that I have really genuinely not liked for a long time, but for some reason I've kept it, and I think I've kept it because I did spend a pretty penny on it. When I spend a little bit more money on a plant, I tend to be a little bit more motivated to fix it if something is going wrong. Basically, it's been a one-leaf wonder since I got it. It had probably like 4 leaves when I bought it, and it was shipped to me and everything, and then pretty quickly almost all of the leaves died because I just did not keep up with the watering as I should have. For some reason, I thought that I like shouldn't water it and I shouldn't touch it when it first came into the mail because I didn't want to like disturb it. And then it ended up crisping up and just like nearly dying. It was really scary. So with that, it did end up putting out a leaf, and ever since then, it's been a one-leaf wonder. And it's not the same leaf. This is one that has come out very recently. It'll put out a leaf, and usually that leaf like looks a little mangled and just not great, and then it will crisp up, and then to the point where I'm like, I'm gonna cut this off, and then I cut it off, and then it'll put out a new leaf. That's just how it's been since I brought it home or shipped it in. And so I'm really curious to see, like, with my new methods, if it will put out more than 1 leaf. It honestly does look a bit more promising. If it does, then I just will be the happiest person in the world. Like, I will feel like I have truly cracked the code. Now, in that same order that I got the regale, I also got this forgetii, and I've tried the forgetii several times. This is, I think, my 3rd forgetii, and I just kept ordering it because I really, really like this plant and I want it to work so badly. But this is probably the Anthurium in my collection that is still looking a little bit rough. So basically, it has some sort of like bacterial leaf spot right here, but otherwise the leaf looks really nice. This is the most recent one that's come out. They have significantly sized up since I made those changes that I mentioned, the moss and the ceramic or plastic pots. And so that's really good news. The humidity in the cabinet is very, very high. It probably sits around 70 to 80% most days. And I think that's why the leaves have continued to get bigger and bigger. Okay, so this one is my Anthurium dorayaki, which I think honestly, I'm gonna say this about most of them, but I think this is one of my favorites for sure. This leaf that came out is just absolutely stunning. It's huge to begin with, and as you can see, these other 2 leaves were pretty much the size that I was getting for a really long time until the humidity in the cabinet was increased significantly. So with that, we got some really, like, this is like a dinner plate size leaf. It's so beautiful. It is again potted in a ceramic pot with moss around the base, and honestly, it has just been such a joy to have this plant size up its leaves so much. So it is at the beginning of its sizing up journey, so we will see what the next leaf looks like. It looks like it's going to be coming through maybe in the next like month or 2. We'll see. It's not in like a super high light situation. I'm going to be doing some rearranging in the cabinet to see if I can move some stuff out, just sort of spread things out slightly more. Okay, I feel like I need to talk about this one now. This is my Anthurium crystallinum magnificum cross, and as you can see, this leaf is huge. It was a very, very big size up from the last leaf it put out, which was this one. I mean, I cannot believe like how quickly it sized up, and I'm super excited to see what it's going to put out next. Like every new leaf that comes out next, I'm just going to be like so excited and anticipating. As you can see, it has a bloom here, and it is slowly starting to enter the sap phase, or like the female phase of the flowering process. So I will soon be able to pollinate this with the clarinervium pollen and see if I can get some berries. And if I do end up, if the pollen does take and I do end up getting some berries, the growth on this plant will probably slow down quite a bit. When my clarinervium was working on the berries, she really didn't put out very many new leaves, and if she did, they were on the smaller side. So I am a little sad at the thought of like stopping the growth, but also I think the idea of getting some cool berries is like a little bit more exciting. So anyway, the Velvety and Anthurium, as I said, are a little bit more on the needy side as far as like humidity and moisture goes. So if you like these, definitely be prepared to like increase your watering frequency and or your humidity levels, because if they are not getting, you know, water from you, they're going to take the moisture from their leaves and they're just going to look a little crusty and maybe not do very well. I mean, I feel like that's the case with most plants, but I find that especially with the Velvety Anthuriums. Okay, the next Anthurium that I have to show you is, I have the sticker here because I do not remember the name. This is an Anthurium draconopterum. I hope that I'm saying that correctly, but it has actually put out these two leaves. The original leaf passed away that I came home with. And then after this one came out, this leaf started to deteriorate pretty quickly. As you can see, there's like some browning on the edges. And I don't know if this one is just like slightly more temperamental as an Anthurium, or if it is one of those that is a one-leaf wonder. But I do think that a big contributing factor to the premature browning is it was pretty close to the grow light, and my grow lights in the cabinet are very, very strong. And I think that maybe it just didn't like that. I don't know. It might have also just gone a little bit too long between waterings. These leaves are very, very thin, so they're not really holding a lot of moisture between waterings. So I don't know, I'm still kind of learning this one a bit, but it is in a really beautiful ceramic pot. As you can see, it's very tall, it's very lanky, and this piece right here is a little bit wonky because it was kind of crunched in the cabinet. It's one that I would love to move out of the cabinet, but I am nervous to move this one just with the leaves being so thin. I worry about it not doing well in ambient humidity. I don't know. We will eventually see, but I'm probably gonna wait a while before I move this one out, maybe until it has a couple more leaves. This one is obviously going to die off pretty soon, so when it puts out another leaf, we'll see if it will hold on to this one and just kind of see how it goes. But the shape of this is so cool. I've had some comments say that it looks like a female reproductive system, which I think is very accurate and cool. Okay, so this one is kind of like all over the place. This is an Anthurium falcatum. As you can see, it looks like a T. This one also kind of has ovaries and uterus looking shape, but it's really awesome. This is the newest leaf that came out, and it's really quite large. The leaves are kind of all over the place right now because it was living in the cabinet, but it like obviously is too big for the cabinet. As you can see, these leaves are very, very large. It is living out in ambient humidity right now, and it put out this leaf in ambient temperatures and humidity conditions, and it's a beautiful leaf. I don't think that it's that much smaller than this leaf that it put out in the cabinet, so I feel like it will do pretty well. This feels slightly thicker than the other one I just showed, so I feel like that's why it's done a little bit better. But generally, it's just one of those cool Anthurium that I really don't have to think about very often. Yeah, I don't stress about it at all. It's just really happy in my plant room, and I think it's super cool. I love funky shaped leaves, and this is definitely a funky shaped leaf. Okay, this one is the Anthurium besseae luxurians cross, which is so cool. This leaf right here, now that I have it in the sunroom and it's getting like natural sunlight on it, I'm seeing that it has like a sort of iridescent look to it, which is really cool. I love how dark these leaves are. It's so like deep green that it almost is like a purplish blackish color. This would be perfect if you have like a goth or like witchy plant vibe. I am planning on making a video about like the witchy plant interior design type of thing, so stay tuned for that. I think it'll come out maybe in September, closer to Halloween and stuff. It's kind of cool because this plant obviously has two in here, so I get new leaves more often, and I just think that's super fun. Getting new leaves is really exciting, so anytime I can get like more than usual, it's exciting. We are getting close to the end here, so thank you all for sticking around. This is an Anthurium magnificum silver, and this one is really cool. It has a different like stem and petiole than any Anthurium I've ever seen before, so I'll show you that close up. As you can see, it does not have a rounded stem or petiole. It's like very angular, and it almost looks like there's, I don't know, like webbing on the edges. It's super cool and unique, and I have never had an Anthurium that has that. I feel like there's something to it, like some plant science thing that I'm missing and I'm not gonna fully uncover until someone probably tells me about it. But anyway, this plant is really cool. It's putting out some pretty good sized leaves. I think that this was the most recent one that came out, and it's just really beautiful. It does have some smaller leaves from when I got it. A lot of the Anthurium that I'm just now showing, like I think the last 4 have been from Ecuagenera. I got them in California when I visited San Diego with my Potted Together co-hosts, and they've just done so well. I got them in February and they've done so well since then. So I think this one has put out 2 leaves since I got back from that experience, and it looks like it's working on putting out another one really soon. So it's just really beautiful, and I feel like I'm saying like the same things over and over again because there's really not much to say other than like it's beautiful and really cool looking. It's in another one of those 3D printed pots. This one is cool, but I do notice that when the soil overflows, it gets stuck in these little ridges and there's like stuff in them, I think. Yeah, I don't know. This one just looks like it gets dirty a little bit easier, but I still really like it. And I think this is the one that has roots like growing. Yeah, there's a root that is just like fully encapsulating this pot here. And I mean, that doesn't necessarily mean that it needs to be repotted, but it just might mean that the roots are just spreading out. And I actually was just looking in my comments. I took a break mid filming to feed the baby, and I was looking at comments, and somebody said that I could try out some root trimming to keep the plants in like smaller size pots. That suggestion was made for my clarinervium, so I might try that actually, we'll see. Okay, the last Anthurium in my collection, and much less exciting than the rest. This is the Anthurium longissimilobum. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna put it on the screen. Okay, it's a bit more of a lance-shaped leaf. I love lance-shaped leaves. I actually made a video all about my favorite ones, and I said in that video that I could honestly like talk about like 10 more, and I was holding back for the sake of the length of the video, which is true because this one is very, very cool. This is a more recent acquisition. I got this from a pop-up from Ecuagenera. They actually came to the city where I live, Columbia, Missouri, and they did a pop-up here. And oh, actually there is a new leaf coming out. See, I was not sure how this was going to acclimate because I think when plants come from Ecuagenera's pop-ups, they are fresh imports, and so they require just a little bit more help. And I will say that if that is the case, this has been one of the more smooth imports that I've experienced. But I will say that even though it does look a little bit limp most of the time, it is holding on, which is really nice, and it is putting out this new leaf, which is great. So if it can hold on to that new leaf and the rest of this foliage kind of just like passes away, I really wouldn't mind. Like, that's totally fine. It is one of the rubbery Anthurium that have, you know, they hold water a little bit better. It's more in the camp of the veitchii. They're just a little bit easier to take care of in my experience. So I don't know, I'm excited to see how this plant turns out. I mean, the most recent leaf that it put out prior to me getting it, I can tell that it's the newest leaf, is this one, and it's a pretty good size, and you can see it just has such a cool shape. So I'm excited to see how this one will grow and progress in my collection. And I have been acclimating it in ambient humidity because there was not room in the cabinet, but I do believe that if I did put it in the cabinet, it probably would have acclimated a lot faster. So we'll see. Once I clear up some space in there, I might be able to put it in there, but we'll just have to see. Okay, my friends, so that is the end of my Anthurium collection. I hope that you enjoyed seeing all of these plants and where they started and where they are now. It has been so wild to see them grow and change, and just, I don't know, I feel really proud of myself for sticking with them because there was a lot of moments where I very easily could have just gotten rid of all of them and just rid myself of the stress. But after a couple of years of some really ugly, like truly heinous looking plants, I feel like I finally have cracked the code, and I'm just so excited to have these beautiful plants. I mean, truly, like this is what I always wanted my plant collection to look like, and I feel like I have that now, and I'm just so excited. I love them so much. So if you have a favorite Anthurium, leave it in the comments down below, because of course I'm always looking for some more cool Anthurium to add to my collection. And yeah, if you have any like care tips for Anthurium, any like tried and true methods that you have found, definitely leave those in the comments too, so that this video can be a fun and helpful resource for people. But yeah, thank you so much to Squarespace for sponsoring, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.